My name is Isabella. I am 29 years old, and I work for Mr. Albert Thorne, the CEO of the company. I am his new secretary, and this is the biggest job I have ever had in my life. Every single day, I feel nervous. My life is simple and very quiet. I live in a small, lonely apartment. I eat dinner alone every night. I have no family here, no close friends, and my job feels like the only door to a better future. I want to be perfect at this job, but that is my biggest problem. The harder I try to be perfect, the more I fail. My hands shake, I forget small things, and sometimes I drop things without meaning to. I am clumsy, very clumsy. And Mr. Thorne is the complete opposite. He is 48 years old. He likes order, silence, and everything in control. His suit, his desk, his schedule, everything about him is perfect. And I am not. His office is huge, cold, white, and always quiet. He almost never smiles. People in the company call him the Ice King because his face and voice feel like ice. His wife, Eller, passed away 3 years ago, and since then he only works and hates any kind of mistake. He hates chaos, and I bring chaos every day without wanting to. My first week was a disaster. On Monday, I brought him coffee, but my hands were shaking so much that I spilled it all over his important papers. He didn't shout at me. Instead, he just looked at me with a cold face and told me to clean it. Honestly, his calmness was scarier than shouting. Then on Wednesday, I mixed up his meeting times and he missed an important call. The client was furious, and so was he. He looked at me with those cold eyes and asked if I could even do my job. I apologized again and again, then cried in the break room alone. I thought he would fire me, but he didn't. He simply stopped talking to me unless he had to. For 2 weeks, I lived in fear. I woke up scared, I worked scared, and I went home scared. Then one day, he asked me to book a trip to London for a very big investor meeting. I checked everything 5 times, the flight, hotel, dates, everything. I thought I did everything right. But on Tuesday morning, he called from the airport. His voice was sharp with cold anger. I had booked the flight for Wednesday by mistake. His meeting was in 3 hours, and now the deal was lost. My whole world fell apart. I cried at my desk, packed my things into a box, and waited for him to come back and fire me. When he arrived, he looked exhausted, but he didn't fire me. He simply said, "Go home. I'm too tired to fire you today. We'll talk tomorrow." I cried the entire night. Why didn't he fire me? The next day, he didn't call me until the evening. Finally, he asked me to come in. He looked tired and asked why I made the mistake. And for the first time, the real truth came out. I told him I was scared of failing, scared of disappointing him, scared of being me. He listened quietly. Then, for the first time, he talked about his wife. He said she tried so hard to be perfect that it made her sick. He said he saw something of her in me. Then he said he wouldn't fire me. He would teach me, help me. For the first time, he sounded human. He was not the Ice King anymore. He was a lonely, hurting man named Albert. The next week, he taught me how to stay organized, how to check details, how to stay calm. He was strict but softer now. I still made mistakes, like spilling coffee again, but instead of anger he just sighed and handed me a napkin. He told me I was chaotic but honest, and he liked that I tried hard. No one had ever seen that in me before. Slowly, things changed. I saw that he ate alone every day, always the same lunch. He had no friends either. One cold morning, I brought him tea instead of coffee. He looked surprised, then smiled, a small, warm smile. The ice was melting. 3 weeks later, during a big meeting, I tripped and dropped papers in front of everyone. Mark, one of the executives, shouted at me and asked if I could do anything right. Before I could cry, Mr. Thorne stood up and told Mark never to speak to his secretary like that. He defended me in front of everyone. After that, people whispered behind my back. 2 women called me a gold digger, said I wanted to replace his late wife. Their words hurt deeply. So, to protect him from gossip, I stopped talking to him. I became cold, professional, distant. He noticed. He looked confused, then hurt. The warmth we had built slowly disappeared. The Ice King returned. And it was my fault. 2 weeks later, he said I had to attend the annual charity gala with him, as part of my job. I wore a simple black dress and felt totally out of place. People stared. Mark made another cruel joke about me tripping, and people laughed quietly. My heart felt like it cracked. Then Mr. Thorne put down his glass and said loudly, "You are right. She is clumsy. She messes up flights. She spills coffee. She is the most disorganized secretary I've ever had." Those words stabbed me, but then he added softly, "But she is also the most honest and kind person in this room." For 3 years, my life was cold and gray. She brought color back into my world. My heart stopped. Then he took my hand and said, "She is not my secretary tonight. She is my date." Everyone stared as we went to the balcony. The night air was cold. I told him this was wrong. He was older, he was my boss, and I was a mess. He held my hands and said he didn't care. He didn't want perfection anymore. He wanted life. He wanted warmth. He wanted me. He asked me to have dinner as Albert and Isabella, not boss and secretary. I thought about the gossip, the age difference, my mistakes. But he didn't love me despite my chaos. He loved me because of it. So I said yes. He smiled, really smiled, and held me close. For the first time in years, I felt like home. 6 months passed. At work he is still Mr. Thorne. After work he is Albert, my Albert. This morning, I brought him coffee, tripped, and spilled it again. He just laughed and handed me a napkin. Some things never change, and maybe they don't have to. Some things never change, and maybe they don't have to. But something did change that morning. After he laughed and handed me the napkin, he didn't walk away. He stood there for a moment, looking at me like he was carrying a heavy thought. Later that day, when the office was almost empty, he quietly told me to come to his place after work because he needed to talk. His voice scared me in a way that made my heart twist. That evening, inside his penthouse, he looked tired and serious as he told me the board had found out about us. They said our relationship was unprofessional, that I was too young, too new, too everything. I felt cold inside, afraid I was losing him. Then he said the board gave him a choice: keep me as his secretary or keep me in his life, but not both. My heart broke. Before I could speak, he took my hands and told me he had already chosen. He was removing me from the secretary position, not to fire me, but to free me, so we wouldn't have to hide, so we wouldn't have to pretend, so we could be together without fear. I cried, thinking I was losing my job, but he lifted my chin and whispered that he didn't want to lose me. He said I wasn't his secretary anymore, but I was still everything he wanted: his peace, his chaos, his color, his home. And then, in the softest voice, he admitted that one day he wanted me to be his wife. I couldn't even speak, I just held him as he held me back tightly, and in that moment, the Ice King melted completely in my arms.